Games, board games. I'm talking about some board games that I played, but I'm not gonna shout. Yesterday, I went to a con, and I happened upon some lovely people in there that day, and I chose to get away from my stand and play a few games, and I shared a joke and a chat. I also did a demo and had a few sales, and I appreciate that. Board games and FBG Con, it's what I'm talking about. FBG Con, I'm not gonna shout. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. It's 10 a.m. UK time, and it's time for another Busy Beats and Board Game Blether. So today, I'm going to talk about a convention. The convention that happened yesterday. The convention known as Friendly Board Gamer Convention. This was run by Matt Thomason, who's a reviewer, a blogger, just loves board games, and it was really nice to be there. It was, for me, the first normal board game convention of the year. I'd been to London Toy Fair, but that's not really the same, is it? And so, yeah, just had so much fun, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So before we get to the main topic, let's talk about, actually, do I even talk about recent highlights? Recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights. Recent highlights, playing games and other delights. Recent highlights. So yes, recent highlights include FBG Con and but let me talk about the getting there in the morning. So I streamed yesterday at about 10 a.m. I was just outside King's Cross. The 8 o'clock train had been delayed. The 8:30, the 8:58, they were delayed and then eventually cancelled. And then the 10 o'clock train got delayed. Like, I'd been waiting there for hours. I was like, what's going on? And then the 11 o'clock, technically the 10:58, that got cancelled. And at that point, I was like, well, I might as well go. But it was 11:14 when the 10:58 finally got cancelled. And then I saw that they had a new train to Cambridge. But instead of Cambridge, it just said, we are going to Letchworth, 11:28. And so I decided to stay. To just give it another 14 minutes. That's all I needed. And then if that one got delayed as well, I would instantly leave. That would be the last straw. But this was my faint glimmer of hope. And it worked. It was the first train of the day. Finally, 11:28. The first train of the day to make a relatively short, I don't know how much it is, like how many miles, about 100 miles, something like that. But I finally got there. And I finally arrived around 1 o'clock. I got in, I went around, I chatted to some people, I did some demonstrations of some games. I ran my 2 p.m. event, although there were only 3 people who came to my 2 p.m. events, which is slightly sad. But I saw Peter Hazelwood played their demo game, which was lovely. Great work, Chris Bocke. Played a couple of other games with other people. Welcome to Dino World, which I had an unfair advantage having worked on it, so I scored like 50% more than anyone else, really. Played... I can't remember the name of this game. A really old 1996 Spiel des Jahres winner. And I did a few more demos and sold a few games. That was really nice. Hello, Timmy. I hope that you're well. And I'm going to talk more about all these things that I played, talk about all the convention. But yeah, tell me how you are. What are you up to? And do you have brilliant thing, what's the little thing which is brilliant that you would like to give a shout out to? I'm going to give a shout out to trains that actually get where they're going. I mean, that is brilliant. Like, it's like that old, you don't know what you got till it's gone. Like, trains that actually get where they're going. Trains that, you can rely on, and I feel like just finally getting somewhere, and the warmth and not being rained on, and what, just so many brilliant things. Warm rolls, yeah. Those are brilliant things. Timmy, you got a new job starting Monday. Many congratulations. I hope that it's something that you can see yourself actually enjoying. What is that new job? Again, many congratulations. So, let me crack on with the show. Feel free to comment, ask questions, thumb like, follow, all that stuff. And I will share a few pictures of what I got up to. Oh, amazing. Unreal Engine developer. That's perfect. That sounds like exactly what you're interested. So congratulations. I think this is also a brilliant thing. Being paid to do something that you actually have a passion for. Congratulations, and I hope that you do a kick-arse job. Lots of love. Let me share the screen, share the photos, and you can maybe look at those. Yeah, there we go. So, this is my game. This is a game about quickly grabbing creatures that are totally different and counting your beetroots and turnips. So this is actually two different versions of the game mixed in together. You can see that there's a turnip. There's also a beetroot, which is totally red. But the beetroot, even though there's two of them, they're basically the same as the turnip. There's no functionally difference. Some of the creatures are a bit more red, some of them are colourful, but that doesn't matter. All you've got to care about is how many eyes they've got, how many limbs they've got. Do they have 2 tentacles, 4 arms, 6 wings? How many legs do they have? 1 tail, 2 legs, 4 legs, whatever. And yeah, each thing that you grab onto your stack needs to be totally different to the one before it. That is the game. And so people are grabbing. At the end, if you've grabbed 2 creatures that share a quality that are next to each other, you lose. If you grab 2 vegetable cards next to each other, you lose. And if you grab more than 5 vegetable cards, you lose. So vegetable cards are really easy to split up your creatures, but can only grab 5 of them. And this was a 2 p.m. event. It was a tournament. After these people had both won 2 games each, then the other players were eliminated, and it was like, okay, now play with 1 hand above your head, and you also need to use your offhand. So that was a bit of a challenge for them, because you need to look upwards, and there's the dexterity elements of needing to move these things up and potentially trying to remember that. But I had fun, and these 2 people, I had previously taught them Wibble and also Couple, and the winner of the game chose one of the L decks, which was quite nice, and they also asked to buy a copy of the Beetroots game afterwards. So that was quite satisfying. Other games that I played this roll and write game. There's no rolling involved. It's not even a flip and write. It's just a think and write. So this is a perfect information game, by which I mean once the game's been set up, the only chaos, the only randomness is what other people do. Like a game of chess. Once, if you play it 2 players, it's a highly strategic game of cutting down opportunities for the other player and maximizing opportunities for yourself. What you're trying to do is to link to stop. So a circle is a stop. You link it with a line. You can only have 1 right angle in your line, and that means that there's at most 2 different ways that you can connect 2 lines. So that gives rise to lots of blocking opportunities. You can get in people's ways, you can draw your own stop, or you can draw a tent, which gives you 0 points. But if you've got a tent next to your own colour of stop, then you get some bonus points. So over there on the left, brown has got a little triangle, which is a tent, and then 2 stops, so that little tent is getting 4 points, which is very nice. Stops do give you negative points if you don't connect them, and so again, it can be brutal. It can be like, haha, you're planning to connect this, I'm going to block that. Oh, you're planning to do this really long thing, I'm going to try and block that preemptively. And you're trying to guess where people are going, you're trying to think, you're trying to strategize. As there's more and more players, there's more player chaos. I played it 4 players, it was fine, but then I played it 2 players, and I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And how many different ways you can do things. I think that getting it felt really, really nice. I would keep playing this 2 players, and this is a game that I could see myself just not getting tired of. I didn't win a single game, and I still enjoyed it, so that is a fantastic sign. The convention generally, I wish I'd taken more photos now. I didn't take many great photos. This is like about as good as I've got, so you can sort of get a vague sense of what the convention's like. I don't even have any photos of my own stand. This is quite close to the end of the day. Played Welcome to Dino World with these people, joined in their game. This is a game that I'd developed, so I did have an unfair advantage. I got 120 points, which I was very proud of. I think everyone else was in like the 80s or 90s, something like that. But yeah, feel like I did quite well. It is always a bit of a brain burner, even though it's called light mode and danger mode. Even the light mode isn't actually a light game. It's a fairly complex game of dinosaur park planning and just mathematical optimization. It feels... Anyway, so that was the game that I played. At this point, honestly, most of the convention, I was there to demonstrate my games, but there weren't that many people who were there to try quick, short games, and people would prefer to play in their own groups, on their own table. It did feel like people stuck together. So once I realized, okay, I'm not getting loads of people, I copied what the other exhibitor had already done and put a little note that said, if you want demos or anything, phone my number. I put my phone number on it, and I felt free to wander around. People knew people could phone me. People just weren't generally... It didn't seem like people were interested. But I played this game, and actually these people... So I played this game. It was called Campanile. I don't know how you pronounce that, but it's an old game, and it's an old Spiel des Jahres winner. You've got lots of towers, and you can see how the cards are being laid out to build up towers. Each time you build up a tower, you can build it up like 1, 2, or 3 spaces, and depending on how high you go up, that determines what card you are able to draw. It also determines how much you have to bet. So if you go up 3 spaces, you have to use your betting chip that's worth 3, which you can only use once. If you go up 2 spaces, you have to use a 2 or a 3. But it's like, do you want to make a bet, and towards the end of the game, if you've not kept them back, you might want to make the bets with the ones, in which case you only have minor impact on the game. Do you want to put up your card, like which of these 3 cards do you select, and then how many do you move it up? So there's essentially... And then do you bet, and if so, which of these 3 options do you bet on? So I guess there's not that many things to think about, ostensibly, but there's so many ramifications. So again, whether you place it 1, 2, or 3, that determines the height of the tower, and you are trying to bet on which will be the highest tower at the end of the game. And the highest tower wins more points for the first and second place, but even the second highest tower or the third or the fourth highest tower still awards some points. And so it's still worth betting on other things potentially. But do you want to bet a certain amount so you can, do you want to build a tower at a certain height because you want to control the height of that tower? Do you want to build a tower at a certain height because you want to bet a certain amount? Do you want to build it to a certain height because you want to push towards the end of the game? I was focusing on getting rid of the 2s at the start. I was like, okay, I'm going to get rid of the 2s. In a different game, it could have gone totally differently. And this is definitely a game that I would play at least 2 more times if anyone suggested it after that. And then, yeah, these 3 people, we played a game about quickly grabbing creatures, and that's totally different, and counting your beetroots. They all enjoyed it. We played it twice, I think. I also did a very quick demo of a game about wee whimsical creatures and try to identify them after someone makes noises. We played 2 turns of that. And I gave Yaim, I think is their name on the left, in the middle. I gave them my email, and they're an educator, and it will be lovely to work together if that happens. Finally, again, I don't have any pictures for this final bit, but I watched over a game of, what was it? Point Salad, a game about grabbing some cards that give you scoring opportunities and grabbing other cards, the vegetables, that actually score you the points. And then afterwards, I was like, hey, do you have time to show us one of your games quickly? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, come over, do a few games. And so how was the convention? Let's talk about that. Oh, the other thing that I should say is I actually won a game in a raffle. I got a copy of Wreck and Ruin, friend of the show, Mark McKinnon of Wreck and Ruin fame. And so this is a really nice looking game. There's bright, colourful miniatures. I remember having lots of fun when I was playtesting it. So you can see there's different miniatures with the little sand people who are stomping around. There's the big rigs, the wheel things that kind of go around. This isn't the normal kind of game that I would normally get, but I really, really enjoyed this when I playtested it, and it will be interesting to finally play the full thing. Hello, Jess. It's lovely to see you. And yeah, I have actually caught a cold again. You're right. It was very cold in King's Cross, and I was waiting there for 3 hours. But anyway, stretching time, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Okay, that's a quick. So let me go through the things quickly of how was it. So yeah, I did enjoy it. I'm glad that I went. That's partially because right now I've not been to conventions for so long, but it was. Let's talk about demos. How many demos did I do? I didn't do that many. I did. Oh, actually, I forgot there was one person who was sent over by Peter who bought a couple of things. So I did want to say demoed Wibble to 2 groups of 3 people total. I demoed Couple to 2 people. I demoed a game about quickly grabbing creatures that are totally different and counting your beetroots to about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. And so, yeah, that was just 4 groups. And I demoed a game about wee whimsical creatures and tried to identify them after someone makes noises to, I want to say, 2 groups. And I also, but I was there. And so the reason I bring up demos is because that's the marketing. Look, when I'm there, yes, I want to sell, I want to cover my costs, but any demo that I do, even if the person doesn't actually like what's going on, then they will. Yeah, and now I'm remembering that, yeah, there was actually one other person, but honestly, like the number of groups that I actually had a proper interaction with, I can almost count on the palm of one hand. The 2 people who came to play the L deck and then they were just hanging around, and so then they got a third person and there were like a few of us for the 2 p.m. event. That was one group. Then there was the one person who was sent over by Peter Hazelwood, which was lovely, as that person, yes, ended up buying Nell deck and one of the bargain bags. There was one person in the middle of the day who said, you know what, I'm probably not going to like any of your games, but I really like what you're doing because I don't like speed games and I don't like word games and I don't like. I'm one of those people who only really likes long 2-hour games, but I really like what you're doing. So is there anything that. And then they wanted me to talk through what I'm doing. And I told them about a game about quickly grabbing creatures that are totally different, counting your beetroots. And he said, wow, this is actually surprisingly enjoyable. I don't normally play this kind of game, but then they ended up buying it. So that was really incredibly validating. There was a group that, yeah, the group that I played the Spiel des Jahres winner with, let me find a photo of them that joined me, and then they just enjoyed the games. And then finally Gym Gamer. So there was literally 5 groups that I had much interaction with, that I talked about my games for more than 30 seconds, or more than even, yeah. Like, even the people that I talked for more than 5 seconds about my games, because I didn't want to go around and say, hey, would you like to try one of my games? I did say to someone, oh, by the way, if you want to, someone was like, oh, I'm waiting here for the person who's demoing this. And I was like, oh, by the way, if you want to try a quick demo for 10 minutes, most of my games are just 10 minutes. But beyond that level of interaction where I'm not trying to force myself on people, yeah, there were not that many people that there was like maybe literally 1 or 2 that I even gave an overview. But it felt like then, so in terms of marketing, it was low. In terms of financial rewards, it was low. But in terms of cost, it was low. I mean, I wasn't charged, like, Matthew knew that was going to bring good vibes to the convention, and so we kind of had an arrangement. So honestly, like, I went back home probably at the end of the day, I had about £10 more in my pocket than I would have had if I hadn't decided to go at all. And yeah, sure, that £10 I might have basically spent on food, because yeah, you kind of need to eat there, and after you go home and you're catching a train at 11 o'clock and you're not going to be back home until after 12, you kind of want something for dinner. So yeah, I did end up spending all my profits on food. But hey, it's fine. Emotionally, it was nice to be there. I enjoyed it. I think that's the key thing. Like, I am now more okay with not always being the center of attention, not always having people around me. I mean, I would prefer it if people were always, hey, Bez, I really want to try your games. Hey, Bez, I really want to see what you're up to. Hey, I'm coming specially for your 2 p.m. event. I would much prefer if that were the case, but I'm also okay when it's not. I'm also okay with wandering around and seeing what people are up to and checking out some new games, seeing people explain it, and then someone explains it to me, and I'm like, thank you very much for taking the time to explain what you're playing. And even though I'm not playing, I can get a little bit of the sense of the joy. And yeah, but that is the convention. I think, yeah, I would go again. As a punter, it was friendly. I think that there could have been more done to. I think that there could have been more done to get people mixing. I think that Blood on the Clock Tower, which is a big group game, that's nice for people who are kind of new. They can all mix together. And yeah, that is really cool. But those people kind of tended to just stay in that one area. I kind of feel like, and those people had all labels, but I feel like everyone coming into the convention should have a wee label or, hey, my name is blah. So when someone comes, you can say, hey, I'm Bez. What's your name? Oh, are you Izzy? Yeah, and maybe even if you want to put the name and the pronoun, whatever. But I do think that that kind of thing, like just having names, then makes it easier for people to mix. And I think that at a board game convention, you ideally want people to mix, not just with people that they've prearranged games with, not just with the people sticking together with the people that they came in with, but getting to know more people and not feeling awkward if they forget the name after a couple of minutes. Not feeling, I'm sorry, what was your name again? Which happens to me all the time, to be honest. But I think they could have put all the traders in one area because I was on one side and Board Game Hub was on one side, and then there were big spinny boards on another side. And it felt like the demo tables and the big dexterity games that were, hey, come, this is kind of getting kept out. Those kind of things should be kept in one area where it's, hey, come and play, and we are here to do demonstrations. Because Peter Hazelwood, it wasn't there to with the intention to sell a lot. I mean, I was kind of hoping that I took like 20 copies of some of the Betty Bargain bags, thinking, yeah, if I sell, then I'll sell, but hey, I'd rather take extra. I could fit it all in one bag anyway. It was very optimistic. That's basically saying 1 in 5 people is going to buy the game, which is incredibly optimistic. But it was more about, as a trader, I just wish that maybe people had felt, okay, this is the area for quick games. And once they're already in that area for quick games, then they're like, hey, we might try that other thing because this is where the demos happen. And if we want to play longer games, we're over on there. But if we want to play relatively quick games, we're over on here. And yeah, I just feel like that's quite a nice thing. So I enjoyed it. I would go again next year. I would take a bit less stock, and I would probably make sure to take a banner with me, put it up, and write something on the table. Stay there for the middle of the day, but other than that, probably tell people, hey, if you want to find me, I will be around, because it wasn't worth that. And if I'm there with someone else, then potentially that could be a chance for us to chat. And so actually, yeah, if it were happening again next year and someone were planning to help me at AirCon or UK Games Expo, that would be a perfect time. So yeah, that was the convention. That was FBG Con. And so let me catch up with the chat, because so firstly, Timmy, if you're still there, yep, I think that presumably they've given you the job because they think that you'll be able to figure it out. And so yes, you figure it out, you do the job, you go in there, you kick arse, and you learn, you do the training that you have to do. I believe in you. You can do this and keep us updated. All the best with it. Jess says, in Thailand, I'll probably catch fewer colds. It's hot, and even in non-COVID times, people who have colds wear masks to protect others. I hardly ever catch colds here, says Jess. Only from bloomin' Richard, because he doesn't wear a mask in the office when he has a cold, but all my students do. Fair enough, I didn't realise that was a thing. Even for colds, people over there wear a mask. That makes me feel like, I should be a bit more conscientious about that. And so, yeah, maybe, yeah. But, Mask Heaven, says Jess. Jess says, I would get bored if I wasn't always the centre of attention. No, I don't need to always be the centre of attention. Just occasionally be at least the centre of some people's attention. It doesn't have to be all the time, just a good portion of the time. Always isn't necessary. Jess wants to give a shout out to their friend Jason, who won a board game tournament last night. Won a professional tournament in the USA and is a bit famous because people are messaging them from all over the world. Flesh and Blood. I have heard of that. I haven't played it myself, so I cannot say that I know it. But congratulations to Jason, I guess. Congratulations, Jason. I've heard that there's a lot going on there. So, to finish up, let me ask the question of the day. The question of the day, I'll ask everyone a question before we go on our way. Question of the day. Today's question is going to be, this is like a self-censored question, but I've got an idea for a game about pandas, pole dancing pandas. Someone suggested pole dancing pandas. And then the first theme that came to my mind is, okay, maybe the pandas, there's a group of pandas and they're all vying for the attention of a panda that's kind of come to check them out, and they're pole dancing as a way to get their mate. Anyway, is this problematic? Like, I don't know if rather than all the pandas who are doing the pole dancing, maybe rather than them all being female, it could be like them being male and there's a female panda like watching the males pole dance. I mean, that might be kind of an interesting twist, not that you could tell in the art anyway, but yeah, like, it feels like it doesn't need to be everyone is one sex and then the other sex is the one that you're kind of fighting over. And my thought was that, like, you'd all be trying to mate with as many pandas as possible, and so you're all pandas, you're in heat or whatever, and you're trying to copulate with many pandas to keep the population alive. And then you're trying to do the most spicy pole dancing moves and most impressive pole dancing moves to get the attention of the other pandas. Is that a problematic theme or is it cute? What do you think of that theme? That's my question for you. How does that drive with you? So you're welcome, Jason. I'm glad that you appreciate the congratulations. I didn't realize that you were with Jess. So yeah, I feel like there's definitely a vague game that I can see there. Sort of like the pandas with the pole dancing, and I've done a bit of pole dancing, so like it's like when you've got a spin move, it's like there's different ways of getting into the spin, but once you're in a spin, you've got a certain amount of inertia, unless of course it's a spinny pole. But yeah, what's going on with, then you've got like transitions that you can do from like this spin into that spin, but then some spins you can only do them as a finisher. And so like some moves, like the moves that are upside down, like turning upside down should be like a basic thing, and then it might be like about grabbing cards, and then you give away cards like a card that needs more energy, you discard more cards for it. Something that needs less energy, you maybe even draw cards for it. And then when you have no cards, that's like you've run out of energy. So now you need to spend time drawing more cards and building up your hand. Like I can see some sort of mechanisms, but what do you think about the pole dancing panda procreation theme? Let me know what you think. Um, Over to you. What are you up to? You can share, but only if you want to. And Jess really wants to share more about Jason, who won in Thailand at a board game cafe, and I don't know if they get an all expenses flight to the USA to be professional now or whatever, but yeah, apparently they're competing in the USA. I don't know what Jess means by being a professional. I doubt that they're earning a livable income from it, but oh, Jess's work is paying for the flight. How did that happen? Interesting. So, Jess, it sounds like you're not a fan of the theme. Are you saying that you feel like it's problematic, or are you making a joke here when you say it sexualizes pandas? Um, yeah, I'm curious to hear more about this. Please tell me more. Yeah, make me more the center of attention rather than Jason. I mean, congratulations to Jason, who's apparently the work is paying for the flight. It's won professional tournaments and are paying. So, yeah, but let us know more about what you think about pandas. After this, I am going to get a quick shower, head to Victoria, and do a bit of playtesting there with people. And that is my plan for the day. After I come back, I've got a few chores I need to do, clothes, laundry, dishes, stuff like organizing, tidying, just general things. But let's recap and wrap up before we finish up. So, to recap and wrap up, I went to FBG Con yesterday. FBG Con, it was good times. People really enjoyed my new game about quickly grabbing creatures that are totally different and counting your beetroots. People were liking the beetroots. People were liking the artwork. I'm going to try and make the artwork even more personal, and you can see a decent idea of what it looks like. It was quite a big room. People were hanging around, having fun. It was nice to be there. I played this prototype, that well done Chris Bockley. This is a fascinating game, and there's so many emergent ramifications from the relatively simple rules. And yeah, I think that it's just a really nice game. I think I will buy this. This is just something that I can see myself. And I don't say that about a lot of games. I actually buy few games because certainly not brand new, because I end up being able to trade for them but no, this one I'm like, wow, this is really good. Yeah, I enjoyed the games that I played. After a while, I was like, yeah, I'm just not going to get many people that I'm demoing to. But I did wander around, I chatted to people, I had fun playing the games that I played, I had fun meeting a few new people, and occasionally there were like two other people who came to my stand who aren't pictured, and these three people all came to the stand to say, oh, well, we enjoyed playing with you, what have you got? But this was a lovely game to play with them, and so three people at the end, and I showed them some new prototypes, and it was nice to see what they had to say. But yeah, that was what I talked about today, and also I talked about the brilliance of what was the brilliant thing today. Trains that actually get to places on time. Yeah. So Jess says, I might feel like pandas are getting sexy in a human way, and I don't know if they want to express their sexuality through the pole. So, yeah, like, but is that a negative thing? Is that a positive thing? Because saying pandas are getting sexy in a human way, people might be like, oh, that sounds good. Some people might be like, oh, that sounds terrible. And they're not going to be humanoid pandas. They're going to be like pandas who are vaguely trying to do some things that you can do with like chubby little limbs. So you probably can't pass one leg through the other quite so easily, but it's like milking cows, says Jess. I don't know if they want to be milked. Yeah, I can see what you're saying, but I'm not actually forcing the pandas onto the pole. I'm just putting them into the game. And no one's going to see this game thinking pandas need to go onto a pole. It's impossible for a panda to actually do pole dancing. So, is the panda pole dancing game vegan friendly? I mean, I would assume so. I could ask a couple of vegan friends what they thought of it. I guess that's a fair point. And I mean, panda consent. Chubby people can pole dance, though, says Jess. Yeah, but pandas have different proportions. And I'm not saying chubby people can't pole dance, but what I am saying is that there's like one or two moves that, like, when you're threading one leg through another, not around the pole on the other side, but between the knee and the pole. So there's a move where you have one leg at an angle next to the pole, and then your other leg fits through that triangle. Yeah, and exactly, the hair and the fur, that's going to be a problem. Exactly, it is slippery. And definitely I did find it, I don't think I'm trying to think if I've done much pole dancing since I started getting waxed. I haven't really, but I do think it makes a definite small difference, even for myself, for human hair. So yeah, we're not going. So pandas definitely cannot pole dance because of the hairiness, unless you were to add chemicals. And there's so much you can't. But okay, I guess you're just in a silly mood. But I will ask a couple of vegans. I will check in with them, even though I can't ask the opinions of pandas. Just says, Jason works with me. I'm flying to Manchester in April. My work told me they would pay if it was to my home city. Okay, so everyone who works with you gets a free plane flight. Wow, that sounds interesting. But yeah, I hope that you have a wonderful stuff, and let me wrap up, as I've done, by saying check out me, Stuff by Bez everywhere. Check out stuffbybez.com/streams if you want to check out future streams. I am going to be talking about something tomorrow, I don't know what. Tuesday, I will be talking with Rob Fisher about brute forcing puzzle solutions. Wednesday, with Alan Paul about playtesting. Then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I might be in Bastion. I've still got to decide. I know it's super late, but share, spread the word, and thank you, everyone. And for now, the only thing left for me to say, just says, one flight every 2 years, return flight, because obviously I wanted to fly to London to be with Bez. Oh, thank you very much. But I guess you can come here after the Manchester. But as I was saying, for now, lots of love and bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, bye. Bye, bye. Bye, bye.